In this video, I am going to explain action, comedy, and school anime series, Armed Girls Machiavellism. All-girl high school Aichi Coexistence Academy recently become a co-education school. In the academy, all the order is maintained by a group of 5 girls. The group members are the leader Rin Inigawara, Mari Kakakuju, Satori Tamaba, Warabi Hanasaka, and Tsukuyo Inaba. They called themselves 5 Supreme Swords. In today's meeting, they are discussing the topic of new transfer student, Fudou Nomura, who has been transferred here after causing a lot of violence in his previous school. Another girl named Kirikiru Amu aka Empress shows up in their meeting. She warns them about a new student ability called Magic Bullet. Without knowing anything about the new school, Nomura enters in the school campus. Upon arriving there, Nomura finds all the girls are equipped with weapons. On the other hand, all the boys wear girls' makeup. A boy named Masuko tells him that all the boys are forced to coexist with the girls by doing this. As Nomura enters the class is greeted by Rin. She introduces herself as a member of the 5 Supreme Swords and gives him 2 options: either coexist with them by following their rule or leave the school. Nomura chooses none of them and runs away from class by jumping through the window. Rin also follows him all the way to the ground and attacks him with her sword. Other girls are also watching their fight. Rin continue her attacks and manage to injure Nomura. Now, Nomura brings out his metal-attached glove to counter her sword. Rin corners Nomura in the fight, but he dodges her attack and places his hand on her waist. Nomura uses his technique called Magic Bullet and defeats Rin. Nomura pins down Rin when she tries to pick up her sword. Nono, a junior high girl, appears and hits Nomura on his head, which causes him to accidentally kiss Rin. In the boys' bath, Nomura asks Masuko how can he get the permission slip to leave the ground. Masuko tells him that he will get the permission slip from Rin, but in order to leave the ground he needs all 5 members' approval. The next morning, Nomura enters the class with cake to meet Rin, but she is not there. Other girls tell him that Rin is still recovering from yesterday's fight. In the girls' dormitory, Rin is resting on her bed while cursing Nomura. She feels someone's presence in her room. It was Nomura who enters her room through the window. Nomura gives her a cake box and asks her if she can give him a permission slip with her approval. At first, Rin refused, but after Nomura praises her, she agrees to give him a permission slip. But before she could hand over the slip, she fainted due to her high temperature. Nomura accidentally grabs her shirt, which causes the button to come off her shirt. Just then Nano enters the room. After seeing them together, she misunderstands the situation and activates all the defense systems in the dormitory. While running away from Nono, Nomura encounters another junior high girl. She introduces herself Chauka and the little sister of one of the 5 swords, Mary. Now, Nono and Chauka both attack Nomura, but he barely cared. Instead, he defeats them easily with his magic bullet. Before Nomura could do anything with them, both of them start crying like a baby. In the evening, Rin comes to Nomura and gives him a permission slip with her approval. After Nomura leaves, other girls arrive and tell Rin everything that happened in school. The next morning in class, Nomura is again greeted by Rin, but this time she says that she is going to supervise him. After what happened with Nono and Chauka, Nomura becomes the target of one of 5 swords, Mary. The next day, Rin comes to pick Nomura from the boys' dormitory as his supervisor. Mary and Chauka also arrive. Rin says Nomura to go ahead and decides to stop Mary from attaching Nomura. Mary also draws her sword and orders Chauka to go after Nomura. While chasing Nomura, Chauka faints when she sees Nomura's sword, then he realizes he loses his pant during the run. Later, Nomura comes across the Empress, Kirikiru Amu. Meanwhile, Mary defeats Rin and goes after Nomura. Nomura seems to know Amu from before he transferred here, but before he properly meets her is interrupted by Mary and now Amu disappears. After seeing Chowka on the ground, Mary attacked Nomura. In the fight with Mary, Nomura has a hard time dealing with her due to her Western fighting style. He blocks her attack with manga which was hidden inside his clothes, then he hit her with manga and creates an opening to use the magic bullet with that he defeats Mary. As the winner of the fight, he asks her to give him her approval seal. But instead of giving him directly, she places it inside her cleavage and forces him to take it from there, but Nomura restrains himself to do so. Then Rin arrives and becomes angry after seeing them. Later, Mary says that she was just testing him. She gives him the approval seal and announces that from now on, she is also going to supervise him along with Rin. The next day, Nomura is now supervised not only by Rin, but also by Mary. While Mary and Rin supervising Nomura on the roof, the oldest member of the Five Swords, Warabi Hanasaka, returns from her vacation. She sees Mary and Rin flirting with Nomura instead of supervising him, which triggers her anger. In the five-sword meeting, Warabi proposed a plan to correct them and decide to do it by herself. The next day, Warabi hangs Nomura's roommate Masuko on a pole on the school ground after beating him badly. Then, Warabi announces her Bloodsport Day event, the 13th Warabimpics, and force Nomura, Rin, and Mary to participate. She tells Nomura if he managed to win, he will get her approval seal and will also save his friend. As for their first challenge, a sumo ring suddenly come out from nowhere. School's media club is live broadcasting all the events throughout the school. In the sumo match, Nomura has to fight against Warabi's bear Kayabu. Nomura fights against a bear and eventually wins the round automatically after when bear's sumo belt loses. But Warabi still does not give up. She sets up a trap, inviting Nomura to come to the school's top to get his permission stamp as a reward for his victory. The building is filled with her underlings WRB 34, Warabi 34. While Nano and Chowka are taking care of Warabi 34, Nomura reaches the building's top with the help of Mary and Rin. Nomura sees some girls wearing a mask are helping his roommate. Warabi calls her bear to join the fight. Meanwhile, three main underling of Warabi are rushing toward the roof to join them. Mary notices them and decides to stop them downstairs. Nomura fights with Warabi's bear and Rin cross her sword with Warabi. In the fight, Warabi has the upper hand and Rin takes a lot of damage. It becomes too difficult for Rin to fight Warabi due to her quick movements. A few moments later, Nomura defeats the bear. Downstairs, Mary also took care of all three underlings. And finally, after some injuries, Rin manages to defeat Warabi. Nono and Chowka arrived for help, but everything has been already settled. By this, Nomura gets his third approval stamp. The next day in the school, after yesterday's incident with Warabi, Nomura become a talk of subject among the girls in school. They follow him everywhere with hungry eyes, even the slightest action from him is followed by a wave of cheers. Mary and Rin do not like the fact of being popular among the girls. They warn him to focus on his work. Next morning, Rin and Mary come to pick up Nomura from his dormitory. While Nomura's bags get checked by Rin and Mary like always, something falls out of his pocket. It's a photo of Nomura sharing a bed with one of the Five Swords member, Satori Tamba. But Nomura does not know anything about it, so he runs away from the situation. While running away from Rin and Mary, Nomura encounter Warabi in school ground. She helps him to hide and asks about the situation. Nomura tells her everything and says he is going to the girls' dormitory to find real evidence. She warns him that thanks to his last visit, dormitory's security have been increased. To infiltrate the dormitory, Nomura let him capture himself. In the torture room, Rin and Mary left the room after torturing Nomura. After that, Warabi comes and rescue Nomura. Then, both Nomura and Warabi enter Satori's room to find the evidence while she was in the bath. A moment later, they don't find anything and go to the bath instead. In the bath, they are attacked by a masked girl, Misogi, Satori's underling, who was using a blowgun to attack them. Satori also comes out naked from the bath. Satori reveals that it was her doing to ruin his relationship with Mary and Rin. She says last night she enters his room with the help of his roommate and click all those photographs. Meanwhile, frustrated Mary and Rini are getting drunk with a non-alcoholic drink and tea respectively. Masuko finds Nomura's permission slip in his room. Back to the bath, Satori invites Nomura to fight with her inside the bath area, but Nomura is pretty disturbed by the fact that Satori isn't wearing any clothes. Then, Warabi kicked him inside and decides to fight Misogi. But the drug she takes from Misogi's earlier attack starts showing its effect. So she stabs her leg to counter the drug. Inside the bath area, Satori attacks Nomura. In the fight, Nomura can't keep up with Satori and is unable to find any opening due to her orthodox fighting style. A moment later, Nomura finally figures out how to fight Satori. He also strips his clothes. Satori attacks him, but this time he blocks her attacks and defeats her. Outside the bath area, Warabi has also finished her fight with Misogi. Inside, Satori still not given up, she threatens Nomura that she will destroy the original data, so Nomura slapped her to stop her childish behavior. After the battle with Satori, when Nomura opened his eyes, he was in the infirmary. Warabi was also there resting next to his bed after she passed out. Satori tells him that she brought him to the infirmary after the fight. A few moments ago, when Nomura was unconscious in the infirmary, Rin and Mary are concerned about Nomura and want to visit him. They run into each other on the way. And a strange tea-drinking fight breaks out between them. They both want to visit Nomura, but do not want to be suspicious of each other, so they try to avoid each other. They both drink beyond their capacity. Then Satori arrives and tells them about Nomura resting in the infirmary. She also tells them the truth behind the picture. After that, Rin pays a visit to Nomura and apologizes to him for her misunderstanding. As an apology, she offers Nomura to do whatever he wants with her. He accepts her offer and remove her mask. Then, she tells him that when she was a child her father cheated on her mother and left them alone due to her appearance slightly resembling her father. Her mother forced her to wear a mask. On the next bed, Warabi really needs to go to the toilet, but she does not want to interrupt their conversation. Her problem further increases when Mary enters the room. Mary also apologizes to Nomura, and as an apology, she offers her body to Nomura, but he does not pay any attention to her offer. Later, Nomura returns to his room. Masuko also apologizes to him and says he washed his pillow cover. Inside the pillow cover, Nomura finds his permission slip with Satori's stamp on it. The next morning, Nomura woke up from a nightmare filled with his past, clouded memories colored in the red of blood. Later in the boys' bath, Two boys are taking shower when they see a monster watching them through the window. They rush to Nomura and Masuko to tell the incidents, but they don't believe them. Inside the headmistress's office, a member of the Five Swords, Tsukuyo Inaba, informs the headmistress that Empress Amu has left her room. Headmistress immediately cancels all the classes. As usual, Rin comes to pick up Nomura. She tells him that recently lots of things have gone missing from the girls' dormitory. At school ground, Mary asks them to help her to find Chauka's wig. Later, Mary sees Warabi, who is searching for her bear's cub. She misunderstands her phrase and thinks she is after Chauka's wig. Later, their misunderstanding is solved by Nomura when he tells them that both of them searching for different things. Then, Nomura remembers the bath incident from the morning and thinks he will solve their problem. Everyone returns to the boys' dormitory. The same boys from the morning are taking showers again, but this time Nomura catches the bath monster. It was Warabi's bear cub under the Chauka's wig. Nono arrives and tells them today's class has been cancelled. On top of the school building, when Satori is punishing her underling Misogi, the Empress's Amu shows up. Amu was angry because of what Satori did with Nomura. Warabi sees Amu and Satori on the roof and immediately rushes toward them. On the roof, Satori tries a surprise attack on Amu, but fails and takes damage from her counter-attack. Misogi tries to protect Satori, taking Amu's attack directly, and it reveals that Misogi and Satori are twin sisters. When they were a child, Misogi stole Satori's identity. Even their family believe that she was Satori and vice versa. Warabi arrives on the roof, but it's too late. Then, Warabi attacks Amu along with her bear, but she could not break through Amu's defense and sustain damage by her auto counter. At school ground, Nomura sees Inaba sitting near the fountain. His friend Masuko warns him that she is the strongest member of the Five Swords and tries not to approach her, but Nomura does not listen and tries to get his last stamp from her. As Nomura enters her range, he becomes terrified by her skills. She fights using Yakimeru Jiken Ryu. He realizes that her skill is far above his own. Their talks are interrupted when they hear sounds of a fight coming from the rooftop of the school. Nomura left Tsukuyo and headed there to see what is going on. Scream from the fight on the rooftop is also listened to by other students. Rin, Mary, alone with Nono, and Chauka headed toward Scream. When Nomura arrives on the rooftop, the Empress has already disappeared and sees everyone is injured. The headmistress Yukino also shows up. While running toward Scream's, Rin and others encounters Amu on ground. On the rooftop, Yukino tells Nomura she will take care of everything here and order him to save other girls on the ground. On the ground, Rin and Mary attack Amu, but as usual, they fail to break through her defense. After them, Tsukuyo Inaba also joins the fight. Inaba attacks Amu and manages to break through her defense. But she also suffers some injury from Amu's auto counter and her sword also broke. Before Inaba could attack Amu second time, is interrupted by Nomura. Nomura's screams tremble with anger. Amu's roar responds. The voices of them roar throughout the school. A flashback shows up showing their past, how Nomura met Amu in his previous school and become friends. But when Nomura rejected Amu's offer of a school tour due to his promise to another student, so Amu attacked that student and they become hated each other. Back to the present, Nomura punches her and protects himself from her auto counter by manga which he hiding under his shirt. Everyone encourages Nomura to use his magic bullet against her. Nomura attacks a second time but fails to do any damage to her, and he also survives from her auto counter. Amu also remembers the old memories with the bitter memories that were awakened. She loves him too much that she wants to kill him. Now, the final round between Amu and Nomura began. This time Nomura is able to attack her with a magic bullet by facing her attack head-on. After taking Nomura's attack, Amu stood up, and a fist fight between Nomura and Amu starts. Several minutes later of their fight, Amu finally admits her defeat and lets Nomura hit her. After everything was settled, Inaba puts her sword on Nomura's neck to resume their previous fight. But this time she gives him an offer and says if he becomes her student he will get her approval stamp. Before he could answer, the headmistress arrives and expelled Nomura on the spot. Later, in the headmistress's office, Rin and Mary protest against her decision over Nomura. On the school ground, Nomura meets Inaba. She tells him that after the fight Amu packed her bags and left for the airport. Nomura runs for her, but Inaba warns him that he needs all 5 swords' permission to leave the ground. Nomura had no choice but to accept her offer. Nomura reached the airport and met Amu. He tells her that because of her he becomes Inaba's student. Then, Amu gives Nomura a solid kiss. Amu leaves after claiming Nomura for herself. Nomura also returns and meets Rin and Mary on the road. Mary tells Nomura that he will not be expelled. The headmistress was joking at that time, but she put him under the surveillance of Mary and Rin. They reaches the school and are welcomed by everyone at the school gate. One day, a while after the battle with Nomura was settled, members of the 5 swords of the world were called by the school headmistress, who saw the cause as a lack of teamwork of 5 people, proposes a comfort trip to the 5 swords to deepen their friendship. On the school ground, on the first day as Nomura's master Inaba shows him a refined and advanced version of his magic bullet. In the meeting, as only one student is allowed to go with 5 swords, everyone is deciding which one they choose. Rin and Mary want to propose Nomura's name but hesitate. Then Inaba comes and suggests Nomura's name. Everyone also agrees with her and decides to take him. However, the headmistress is also listing everything and says she will not allow him until he complete his supplementary lesson. Tush, everyone from 5 swords, decides to teach Nomura, but wastes a lot of their time to decide who will teach him first by fighting each other. Nomura disappears from the class and study his roommate Masuko. Later, everyone arrives at their trip destination and is excited about the trip. At dinner, Rin and Mary receive a message from Nono and Chauka about the inn they staying at. It says, anyone who enters the bath first will get a chance to grant their wish. As for that fact, a fight broke out between them, but Inaba does not care, so she left the room. Warabi wins and heads towards the bath. She strips her on way, but Satori also follows her. She knocks her down before Warabi could enter the bath. In the end, Inaba enters another bath. Because it was a men's bath, she meet Nomura. She feels embarrassed and sent him flying. I hope you liked the video. If you liked the video, please like, share, and comment on the video and subscribe to the channel.